Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Solar Prize Round 6 informational webinar. We're going to give everyone another minute or so to get logged in. So if you'll just sit tight, we will begin momentarily. Thanks. Once again, if you're just now getting logged on, we're waiting another 30 seconds or so before we get started to give everyone a chance to get logged in. All right, I think we can go ahead and get started. Once again, welcome everyone. Thanks for joining the American Made Solar Prize Round 6 informational webinar today. My name is Jackie Petrie. I am on the NREL Solar Prize team, and I'm going to be the technical moderator for today's webinar. So before we get started, I just wanted to go over a few quick housekeeping items. Obviously, we're using Zoom today. We are recording this presentation, and we'll be posting a recording of the presentation on the Solar Prize Round 6 HeroX website after the presentation concludes. We'll share a link to that page if you're not already following, so you'll get that link sent to you directly. If you have any questions about today's webinar, feel free to submit those in the Q&A panel. You should see a little button at the bottom of your screen that says Q&A. We'll have a moderated Q&A session at the end of the presentation, but feel free to submit those questions throughout the presentation. You can also submit technical support questions in the chat if you're having audio issues or anything like that. Feel free to use the chat for that. We ask that you try to keep your questions in the Q&A tab, just so we don't miss anything. We'll be looking at that before we look at chat for questions, but we'll try to keep an eye on both so we don't miss anything. With that, I think I'm going to hand things over to Sarah Gomash, who is the Solar Prize Administrator from the National Renewable Energy Laboratory. Sarah?
Thanks so much, Jackie. As Jackie mentioned, my name is Sarah Gomash. I work with the team at NREL on administering the American Made Challenges. I'm joined today by my colleague, Rebecca Bennett. We are really excited to be talking to you about round 6 of the Solar Prize. Today, we'll go through an overview of the Solar Prize. We'll cover the eligibility for the prize in depth, remind you of important dates and events, walk you through what you need to do to submit to the READY contest, provide you with some resources to help you with your submission, and then, as Jackie said, we'll answer questions. Before we dive into this packed agenda, I would like to introduce Peter Lobacero from the Solar Energy Technologies Office. We are thrilled that the Solar Energy Technologies Office has supported the past 5 rounds of the Solar Prize and is continuing to support this round. I think they are a really visionary office looking for some great ideas, and so would love to turn it over to Peter to say a few words from their perspective before Rebecca and I get into the details.
Yeah, thanks, Sarah. And good afternoon, good morning. If you're rewatching this, good whatever time it is to you. We're really pleased to have so many folks on the line here today, and we're really excited to be getting the 6th round of the American Made Solar Prize off and running. We are officially open to compete. And so I just really would encourage you over the course of the next several months, over the course of this webinar, to keep an open mind about what is possible to innovate in the solar industry. We're at a really interesting moment in time, both with regards to priorities of this administration, with regards to the clean energy revolution, and all of the opportunities that we have, to grow and to expand the clean energy ecosystem. And we hope you'll join us in that effort. I want to also say that this program is really open to everyone, no matter how early the stage of your idea. And we've had a lot of folks, if you look back at previous winners, you might say, oh, I can't do that. Oh, wow, how did they get so good? I want to make sure that you understand that the earliest stages, they didn't look so polished. They didn't look so fancy. And they came a long way by leaning in to the resources that this program can offer, whether it's leveraging this team in front of you right now, leveraging the power connectors, or leveraging your competitors who might actually, your fellow competitors who might actually be future teammates or founders or business development coaches or external experts that support you. So we have a lot of resources available to you, and we hope that you'll take advantage of all of them. And we hope to see you applying in October with all of your great ideas. And with that, Sarah, I'll turn it back over to you and you can get into more of the details. But again, thank you, everyone. And we're really excited you're here today and to be launching this program and continuing to support the American Made Challenges.
Thanks so much, Peter. We're really happy to have DOE support on this. If you want to go to the next slide, Rebecca, and the next one. So I think a handful of you on the line today have probably followed the Solar Prize for a few years. And I think some of you on the line today are brand new and never heard of this thing until you saw the link for the webinar. So I want to take just a few minutes and kind of frame up what the Solar Prize is, where we've been, where we've come from. As Peter mentioned, the Solar Prize is really focused on innovation in the solar industry. And like that, we innovate from round to round. So those of you that have been following the Solar Prize for a long time, you'll see a lot of similarities from previous rounds, but maybe a couple differences as we go into round 6. So just take a notice of that. So the American Made Challenges were started back in 2018 with the first round of the Solar Prize as really a goal to energize American ingenuity in solar innovation. We really wanted to empower innovators to rapidly transform ideas into prototypes. Peter mentioned this prize is wide open to anyone with an idea, and we really mean that. A lot of competitors come to this prize with just an idea. It's never been built, it's never been prototyped, it's never been piloted, but we really want to use this prize to help you get that idea going, to give you kind of the runway and the momentum that you need to do something great. And then finally, we aren't just a prize program giving out cash. We have a network of labs, facilities, and partners to help you prepare. We really want you to be successful, and we try to bring the resources, both cash and technical assistance and other support to make that happen. We do this through something that's called the American Made Network, which Rebecca will be talking about a little bit later. Next slide. So the Solar Prize is a 2-part program. The first is a multi-million-dollar prize competition that has 3 phases: ready, set, and go. Competitors right now are going to be competing in the ready phase. If you win the ready phase, you get to go on to the set and go contests. As I mentioned, this prize is supported by a national network of support called the American Made Network. And on today's webinar, we will dive into both of those topics in more depth. Next slide. I think a question that we get a lot is, what's the difference between this prize and every other grant program that DOE and CETO have out there? I think a lot of you might be familiar with some government grant and FOA processes. I think, candidly, they take a long time. There's a lot of steps. I think a lot of people think that they're a lot of work, a heavy lift. And what you do is you're really proposing an idea of what you're going to do if you get the funds. And you're going to spend a lot of time documenting that work, kind of preparing the contracts, waiting to get reimbursed. And it's a burdensome process, especially I think sometimes for young entrepreneurs or early startups that need kind of cash in the door now to keep the lights on, to prototype a certain part, and to really move fast at that stage that you need. So that's where prizes are different. Prizes are an award for work already done, which means that technically you are competing right now in the ready contest. So from now until that submission deadline, we're asking you to think of an idea, to make a plan with your idea, to bring the right team together to do that idea. You will complete a submission package. You'll submit that in October. We'll have a panel of reviewers score that submission. We'll make a decision on the winners, and then we give you a payment immediately. There aren't any contracts. There's not any negotiation about what you can and can't use those funds for. It is literally work toward this predefined goal, put in your submission. The people that make the most progress and have the most promising submission get that payment and move on to the next phase. I think especially for those of you that have never gotten DOE funding before, this is a really great entry point. Hopefully this flow chart shows that it's a much lower lift. I think the application is pretty straightforward. And so we definitely encourage you to dip your toe in the DOE funding water and kind of start with the prize as that entry point. I also want to echo, I think, what Peter was saying in terms of, I think everyone's eligible. Well, I mean, there are eligibility requirements, but you're never too early to apply for the prize. We are taking those early stage ideas, and we really encourage you to spend time over the next few months working on those ideas and then putting in that submission. Next slide, Rebecca. So as I mentioned, the Solar Prize is a $3 million cash prize contest in 3 phases. So the first phase is called the Ready Contest. That's what we're in now. In October, the Ready submissions will be due. We are asking you during this Ready Contest to make a plan. Tell us your idea, make a plan on how you can move forward with this idea. After submissions are due, we will go through the evaluation period, and 20 teams will win $50,000 of cash each. Those teams then move on to the set contest, which will last about another 4 months. And in that set contest, we ask you to take that idea that you proposed to us in Ready and design a proof of concept, make some technical progress, do some customer discovery, show us that there's some technical merit behind this and that people want it. From those 20 teams, at the end of the set contest, 10 teams will win a $100,000 cash prize and a $75,000 voucher. That voucher can be used to work with a facility in the American Made Network or to connect you with a researcher at one of the national labs like NREL. Those 10 teams will go on to the GO contest. At the end of the GO contest, where you will have taken your proof of concept, developed a prototype, identified some sort of pilot partner. So really just kind of keep moving forward in the R&D phase. 2 of those teams at the end of GO will win $500,000 cash prize each and another $75,000 voucher. So that really means 2 out of 20 teams over the course of this prize can win $650,000 in cash. Again, that's non-dilutive, no strings attached with what you can and can't do with it. So $650,000 in cash kind of over the course of a year, $150,000 in vouchers to work with a national lab or facility in our network, and really accelerate that idea from plan to proof of concept to prototype. So I think this is a super good deal. I think you all should be thinking of your idea right now, and Rebecca's going to walk you through what you need to get that submission in. There's a couple other things that I want to mention here. You may notice on the slide that there's something called the JEDI Prize. So we have an additional $200,000 of funding for solutions that have a justice, equity, diversity, and inclusion component. This is optional. So you can submit any idea you'd like to the Solar Prize. If your idea happens to have a justice, equity, diversity, and inclusion component, you can kind of apply for this prize within a prize and earn extra cash on top of those Ready, Set, and Go awards throughout the competition. Possible JEDI components could be how your solution addresses solar market barriers faced by underserved communities. If you're working in a geographic area that's disadvantaged or underserved or an opportunity zone, maybe how you're incorporating JEDI principles into your organization's mission, vision, policies, procedures. I think we're very open to what that solution is. If you do decide to opt into the JEDI contest, you'll get a few extra words in the word count for your technical narrative to tell us about it. You have to win the Ready competition in order to win the JEDI contest. You also have to win the SET competition in order to win the JEDI contest. And then in the GO competition, any of the competitors are eligible to win. The other thing I'll mention about this is even if you don't enter the JEDI contest at Ready, you can later in SET or GO. So I think this is a really great opportunity. Our DOE and NREL are really committed to justice, equity, diversity, and inclusion efforts. And so we really want to give extra support to teams, to organizations, to startups that are incorporating this into their solutions and businesses. I think the final thing I want to mention is for those of you that are really familiar with previous versions of the Solar Prize, round 5, which is concluding currently, you may have remembered had a hardware and a software track. For round 6, we are a single track, but we will accept hardware or software or hardware plus software solutions. So really anything related to the solar industry is fair game. There's no requirement that it has to be one or the other, and we will definitely take both. So I think with that, I will turn things over to Rebecca to get into some of the details on the eligibility and how to apply for the Solar Prize that hopefully all of you are now convinced that you should definitely go do.
Great, thanks, Sarah. So eligibility, I think we probably get a lot of questions about whether you're eligible, and there are some specific criteria, which I'll go into, but what we're really looking for is anyone with a big idea in the solar industry. If you have an idea that you think can impact solar power, solar panels, really anything that has to do with solar, you can apply to this prize. You could be an entrepreneur, you could be someone who has a lot of experience in the solar industry, you could be students, faculty, or scientists, or just someone who's been tinkering around in their garage. We are truly looking for any kind of idea. The specifics of eligibility are, of course, a little more in depth. So individuals, teams of individuals, private entities, for-profits and nonprofits, and non-federal government entities are eligible to compete in the READY contest. There are a couple of little caveats with that. So if you are an individual competitor, you must be a US citizen or a permanent resident. If you are a group of individuals, the person who holds the online account on our HeroX website does need to be a US citizen or permanent resident. We often refer to that person as the team captain. Private entities must be incorporated and maintain a primary place of business in the United States. And academic institutions must also be based in the United States. I also want to note for the Set and Go contests, competitors are required to become a for-profit business entity. So you must incorporate after the READY contest when you go on to Set and Go. And we do have network partners that can always help you do that if you reach that stage. Important dates and events. So you guys are competing in the READY contest right now. If you aren't already, I do encourage you to go and find Solar Prize Round 6 on HeroX and start working. We'll throw the link in our chat and get your entry ready for submission on October 6th, 2022 at 5 p.m. Eastern Time. That is a hard deadline. So please, we highly encourage you to submit early. Just in case you run into technical issues, we can resolve them before that deadline. So yeah, follow us on HeroX. And now I'll dive into what is required of submitting to the READY contest. So these are the submission materials that you'll be putting together for the submission. And to start that off, I just want to encourage everyone, please find and read the official rules for the American Made Solar Prize Round 6. They are available on that HeroX page under the resources tab, and they are also available at the link on this page at americanmadechallenges.org. The rules go into everything. If you have a question, the rules can probably answer it. And if for some reason the rules can't answer it, you can always email us, and we'll have our email at the end of this presentation. So the READY contest goals. These are the goals that we ask you to meet. The first one is develop a credible solution concept for a real world problem facing the solar industry. So you need to identify a problem and then perform substantive due diligence to gather feedback and validate that your proposed solution addresses a real problem and is technically feasible. Team capabilities is the next goal. We do ask that you form an exceptional and committed team to accomplish the stated goals of the proposed solution. So you should have a team that addresses everything that is necessary for your solution to be successful. Network engagement. So this is where our American Made Network comes into play. We highly encourage you to cultivate relationships with members of the American Made Network or other entities. It doesn't have to be in the American Made Network to maximize the likelihood of creating a viable business. And so again, our network is there to help you succeed, and we do offer rewards for assisting you. So they are encouraged to do so because of that. And I'll dive into the American Made Network in a couple more slides. So the actual submission materials that we're looking for, we are asking for a 90-second video. This will be made public. A cover page with a narrative that answers 4 questions. So this is the technical narrative about the problem, your solution, your team, and your plan. We do have a word limit at 2,500 words, so it really isn't that long of a technical narrative. That one does remain private, so anything that you put in that will only be read by our expert reviewers and DOE. All of our expert reviewers are under an NDA, so anything that you disclose in there will remain confidential. We do ask that you put in as much detail as possible. Then you'll have a 1 summary PowerPoint slide. This will be public, so don't throw anything that you don't want to disclose to the public in there. And then there will be a technical assistance request, which I'll dive into in a couple slides. And then you can also include letters of commitment or support for the Ready contest. We also have on HeroX in our resources tab, that's what this little photo is here. It's a template. So you can use this template to help you complete your technical narrative, and it can provide additional details on the other submission materials. So the video, this is your innovation in 90 seconds. So that is a pretty quick time, but we do in the rules provide the suggested content that we're looking for and the criteria that our judges, our expert reviewers will consider while reviewing your video. So of course you want to bring up the real world problem you are solving, your solution and why it is transformational, who you are and why you have a competitive edge. And then if you do opt into the JEDI contest, you'll have the option to put in the additional details. So describe the specific JEDI barriers that your solution addresses. For this video, I do want to note, we're not looking for Hollywood quality videos here. A lot of our videos are shot on phones. Some people go into PowerPoint and do their video just with a voiceover. But what we really encourage is that you be creative. Creativity does catch people's eyes. And we also ask that or encourage that you watch previous winners' videos. That can give you a good idea of what we're looking for. And all of those can be found on our previous HeroX pages. So Solar Prize Round 5, for example. And we also have a YouTube channel where you can find all of those videos. You can also reach out to our power connectors who I'll go into later, but they can give you feedback before you post this video and help you add or tweak anything. So the technical narrative, these are those 4 questions that we are asking you to answer in your technical narrative. We don't have a limit on each question, so you could spend 1,000 words talking about the problem if you wanted to, but you only have 2,500 words total. So the questions that you'll be answering: problem, what is the problem and why is solving it important? Solution, what is your solution and why will it be successful? Accomplishments and team. What have you done to date and what qualities give you a competitive edge? Plan, what is your plan to achieve your goals? And it's important to remember who your audience is. These are expert reviewers with experience in the solar industry. Again, be specific. This portion is not public, so don't keep anything vague, be as specific as possible, and make sure you pay attention to the word count. Our expert reviewers do not read past the word limit. I will note for the JEDI contest, you are given 500 extra words for the technical narrative to address those questions. You are also allowed 5 images or figures. So that can be graphs, tables, that kind of thing as needed. And that's for, you don't have to opt in for JEDI for those, just for clarity. So this is an example of, you can find this in the rules. So this is the question, the first question, problem, what is the problem and why is solving it important? And then again, it's the content that we suggest that you provide, as well as how each statement is scored. So again, look at the rules. Make sure that you're addressing these certain points, because this is what our expert reviewers will look for within your technical narrative. So the technical assistance request, this is a required portion of your submission where you will use the American-Made Network matching tool to identify areas where you need assistance to realize your solution. We will be posting a video on HeroX it's a demo of how to use the tool, but this tool is there to connect you to American-Made Network members that are in the areas that you need assistance with on your solution. So if you need help with, say, business development, you could put that in on the technical assistance request, and it will match you to connectors within our network that have experience and capabilities to help you be more successful with business development. We have a bunch of different connectors that can provide all sorts of assistance. And if you are struggling to find the right match, you can always reach out to our power connectors to help provide a little further guidance. You can look at the network and all of its members at the URL provided here, network.americanmadechallenges.org, and you can see who our extensive list of connectors is. So the HeroX page, this is where you will submit your submission. Again, this should be in the chat. And you'll go to this page. If you aren't following, we highly encourage you to follow it so that you receive all the updates and relevant information about this prize. Following does not mean you are signing up for the competition. It just means that you are engaged and will receive updates. On our HeroX page, you can access the rules. This webinar and slide deck, as well as other resources, will be on that resources tab and available to you. You can post on the forum with any questions, and we will answer those questions as quickly as we're able to. Timeline will show you just the various events that come up between now and the deadline, when the deadline is, and all the future dates for the other upcoming events and deadlines of the prize. And to actually submit to the challenge, after you click follow this, solve this challenge, should change, and you'll be able to click solve this challenge and begin your submission. And again, you don't have to start that submission right now, but the sooner you get it in, the less likely you'll have technical issues closer to that deadline. So getting support for your submission. One of the big components of the American-Made Challenges is the American-Made Network. So our American-Made Network is growing and getting stronger each day. I believe we have over 250 plus connectors. And we are also proud to be able to connect our teams to the different Department of Energy national laboratories. So you can talk to researchers, get access to staff, that kind of thing through our network to help you with your innovation. But again, that American-Made network matching tool is a great way to connect to connectors in your area or with the capabilities that you need to get your solution to where it needs to be. And to kind of incentivize our connectors to engage with you, we do offer what's called Connector Recognition Awards. So whenever, if you go on to compete in the SET contest, when you receive your Ready Contest Award, you can nominate a connector that assisted you with your submission. And as long as they are an approved member of the American-Made Network, they can receive $5,000 as more or less a thank you from you to them for helping them succeed, for helping you succeed in the competition. And this could be because they maybe recruited you or just supported you throughout the Ready contest. And you can continue to work with them throughout the Solar Prize. So again, how do you find and connect with a connector? And that is through the network matching tool. And that's again where you'll generate your technical assistance request. This is what that will look like for you all. You'll set up your profile here, and then you'll be able to browse the network. You can go and check out matches based on what you put in your profile and the matching tool. And then of course you can access the various challenges there as well. Power connectors. So we have subcontracted and partnered with 5 power connectors for Solar Prize Round 6. All of them should post their contact information on our HeroX forum so that you can reach out and connect with our power connectors. They can provide application support or direct you to connectors within the network to help you with whatever you need on your submission. And those power connectors are LabStart, New Energy Nexus, Nation of Makers, the University of Arizona Center for Innovation, and VentureWell. And so what's next? Again, follow the challenges on HeroX. You can stay up to date on all the information coming out of the prize. Make sure that you read the rules and sign up for the matching tool and connect to our American Made Network. And then of course, start innovating and get your submissions in by October 6th. And if any questions come up along the way that our rules can't answer, you can always reach out to our power connectors, or you can email us at solar.prize@nrel.gov. And with that, Jackie, I'll turn it to you.
Thanks, Rebecca. I'm going to start going through the questions that we've had submitted. Certainly a lot of these have been answered throughout the presentation, but I'll ask them again just to make sure that everybody's questions are answered, and we'll try to get to as many as we can. But again, if you have specific questions, maybe about your individual entry or idea, we encourage you to send some of those questions to the Solar Prize email address. All right, so diving right in. First question, what if we are competing in the Set or Go contest right now in another prize? So I think that person is probably referencing round 5 of the Solar Prize. If they are competing, are they eligible to apply to round 6?
I would say yes, you are eligible. However, we encourage you to submit with a significantly new or different idea.
Great. We had a couple of people asking if they can submit earlier than October 6th.
Yes, you can definitely submit before October 6th. You won't hear anything back from our team before that date, but you can definitely submit before October 6th.
And I think if you submit early, you can still edit your submission up until that October 6th deadline. So if you do need to change something last minute, you can.
Great. Can we submit multiple entries?
Yes, I believe an individual account holder can submit up to 3 entries.
Okay. And can a company be a team member of multiple teams? I guess that's somewhat related, but a little bit of a different scenario.
Yes, I think is the short answer. There is some gray area in there. So if you want to, that's something where I would encourage you to email us with the specifics, and we can answer with more clarity. But I think the short answer is yes.
Great. How many submissions are shortlisted for the first contest, and how many applications have we received so far?
So we select 20 teams for the first contest, the Ready contest. In terms of applications so far, because you are currently competing, most people have not put a submission in yet. So we don't have a good number. But I would say we typically see kind of between 150 and 200 submissions for that first phase.
Okay, next question. Let's see, when we provide a budget plan in the narrative, does the budget amount need to match the prize amount for that contest? So, for example, $50,000 is the prize for Ready.
No, they don't need to match. I think we realize in a lot of places that prize money alone won't get you to meet your full goals. So if you want to tell us what it's going to take to get there, and what piece of that the prize helps you with, I think that's a good way to go. I will say that if you do something like tell us I need $100 million, and it's the ready phase where you're looking for 50,000, I would encourage you maybe to talk about how you're going to make up that huge gap.
Okay. Next question, do you have standard MOUs or partnership agreements preferred to highlight collaborators or stakeholders upon submission to strengthen a case in previous work?
No, we don't have a template. I think one of the things about Solar Prize is every organization is so different that's applying. I think different agreements, different letters are appropriate. So we say use kind of whatever you have, but try to keep those to about a page when you attach them.
All right, we have a couple eligibility questions for you, Rebecca. Let's see, if I am a student in a university here in the US, but I am international, is there still a way to apply?
Yes, it's a little bit complicated. You would have to apply on behalf of the university. Universities do have a lot of bylaws and various things, so I would check with your university to make sure that they can agree to all of the rules of the prize. Again, I would read through the official rules. If you are considering applying on behalf of a university, they need to be able to agree to those rules as well. Otherwise, if you did win, you may not be able to accept the payment, because it would be the university that would have to accept the payment.
All right, next question. Is an American subsidiary of a foreign country eligible?
I believe we take those on a case-by-case basis. So I encourage you to email us.
And I would say read the rules. The rules
Yep.
have some information in that eligibility section about waivers for non-US entities.
Can team members work in a foreign country if they are US citizen?
Team members, I'll say yes.
Okay, I think we probably just covered this in the previous question, but are universities eligible for this competition?
As long as they are based in the United States.
I will note that they're eligible for the Ready contest, but if you were to win the Ready contest and move on to Set and Go, you would have to spin out a startup organization. But that's an issue that future you can deal with if you win Ready.
All right, next question. Do you have to have a business already established to apply, or can you stand up a business after you win the Ready contest?
You can stand up a business after you win the Ready contest. The Ready contest can be won by anyone as long as they meet those eligibility requirements.
All right, a couple questions around reapplying. What are the parameters for reapplying? If a team competed in round 5, how can they re-enter for round 6?
I strongly encourage reapplying, especially if you didn't win the previous round. I think teams have definitely done this in the past where they haven't won a previous round and win a later round. Teams that do that and are successful will typically take the reviewer comments that they got in that previous round, act on them, show significant growth and change from the previous round. So I guess my recommendation is if you didn't win previously and you put in the exact same thing with no changes, chances are you probably won't win again. So show some improvement. For teams that have won any stage of a previous competition, of previous Solar Prize, you are eligible to submit again. If you have won funding under the Solar Prize, I would encourage you to submit for a significantly new or different idea. Chances are we would not fund you again for the exact same concept.
And you can find those specific guidelines in the rules under the appendixes. I believe it's the universal contest requirements in that section.
Great. If we are applying to other DOE prizes, such as the Perovskite Startup Prize, can we also apply for the Solar Prize?
Yes.
You can, but that same thing that Sarah was talking about, if you win funding under the Perovskite Startup Prize, you would probably need to submit a different idea to the Solar Prize just because of DOE funding rules.
Okay, since a single team can submit a maximum of 3 submissions, can the team win multiple prizes in one contest?
Yes.
Yes.
All right. Let's see, is the application limited to solar technologies, or can it be non-solar energy production innovations?
It has to have some sort of relation to solar. So if solar is a part of a larger system, I'd encourage you to make your case as strong as possible in that technical narrative on how it relates to and advances the solar industry. In the rules, we do have several bullet points that outline what specifically we're looking to fund in this program. And so I'd encourage you to take a look at those and make sure whatever you're proposing strongly matches those requirements.
Great. Are the non-public submission materials considered confidential? This is in regard to intellectual property rights and if an initial disclosure with the patent office should be filed before submission.
I think for anything patent related, we definitely recommend that you talk to a patent attorney, but I can let Rebecca answer about the confidentiality.
So all of the materials that you submit that are marked public are available for anyone to see. So that includes the video, the summary slide, and then the technical assistance request. But the technical narrative is confidential. No one outside of our expert review team and DOE will see that. On that note, anything that you submit does become a DOE record. And because of that, it does fall under how do they state it? It can be accessed with a Information Act request, Federal Information Act request, Freedom of Information Act request. That's what it is. Okay, sorry. And because of that, we do have guidelines within the rules on how to notate your submission materials so that it remains as a trade secret and that kind of thing, so that it would be, it would not fall under the FOIA request.
Great, thanks, Rebecca. This question is asking for a little bit of clarification. Earlier on, we mentioned that a submission must not have been done before. This person says they expect to be in early lab scale production by October. Can they still receive an award, or are they ineligible?
I think they're still eligible for sure. I think one of the things about the Solar Prize is kind of that first stage for different teams and different companies. It's a very different entry point. So I would say as long as you haven't received funding from the Solar Prize before to get you to that state, you're definitely eligible, and we'd encourage you to apply. And I think we do see a wide variety of submissions and winners, and I'd encourage you to look through our website at some of the past winners to really get an idea of the breadth and some of the things that have been selected in the past. And maybe that will also kind of help you understand what we're looking for and what we've funded before. I think one of the great things about Solar Prize is because we're in round 6, you have over 100 previous applicants that were successful in receiving funds.
Can team members be employees of DOE labs?
The short answer is yes. The long answer is they have to compete in their personal capacity, and they do need to get certain approvals from NREL.
Or a different lab if you're working with a different lab, but you'd have to go through your own internal conflict of interest process.
Yep.
Okay. I know we talked about this earlier, but just to reiterate, are there separate hardware and software tracks for round 6?
Nope. But we'll take both.
Great. All right, this question has a couple parts to it. So I'll start with the first question. Is there a specific number required to comprise a team? So a specific number of team members you have to have.
Could be one person, could be 20.
Okay. Next part, what background does the team need to have? Are there any requirements on background knowledge or experience?
No, and I think you'll see from our previous winners that we do get a wide variety of applicants. We've had some college students, some academic researchers, some people that have been entrepreneurs in the solar space for years, some people that have never worked in the solar space before, small family businesses. So definitely no required background. In the rules and in the technical narrative, there is a question where we ask you to describe your team. My advice to you is if you do have some expertise or skill gaps that you're going to need to fill in order to be successful, just let us know. Maybe use the American Made Network to try to help figure out how you can get some consulting and expertise and support in that area.
All right, and the final question in this 3-part question, how does having a patented product impact the entry in the competition?
I would say it is not a part of the formal submission evaluation statements. And so having a patent or not having a patent doesn't necessarily matter to us.
Okay. And Sarah, you had kind of mentioned looking at previous submissions online. I think people are wondering where specifically they can go to find this.
Yeah, I think we could drop a link in the chat for you on the best place to go to find those. One place you can go is just to look at the HeroX pages for the previous rounds, and you should be able to click through some of the submissions there. Jackie, you're actually our communications expert, so maybe this is a better question for you to answer than me.
Yeah, I will drop a link to our general American Made Challenges HeroX website. I'll put that in the chat. From here, you'll see various, they look like little cards for all of the prizes that we run, but if you scroll through those, you can find the pages for previous rounds, rounds 1 through 5. And if you click on one of those pages, you'll see a tab that says entries or teams, and under the teams tab, that's where we list semifinalists, finalists, and final winners. So you can click into each of those to see what their winning submissions look like.
I would also just add, I know Rebecca talked about the power connectors that are there to support you, and several of our power connectors have supported teams through multiple rounds of the Solar Prize. And so I also think they're going to be a really good resource for you to talk about your idea, to get an idea of what other teams were doing, thinking about the solutions that they were proposing. So definitely use those power connectors as a resource.
Yes, thanks, Sarah. I know we've gotten a couple of questions that are pretty specific about the technologies that you all are submitting. We're not going to talk about specific technologies and whether your individual idea is eligible here. But again, if you have any specific questions, I encourage you to either reach out to a power connector to help with some of those questions, or email that solar.prize@nrel.gov email address, and we can answer those questions there too.
And I would say, Jackie, just to clarify, I think our role as the prize administrator is really to help clarify the rules and the eligibility. We will not be able to comment on your specific technology and anything about it. So if you have those specific questions, I would definitely direct you to a power connector.
Yep. Let's see, can someone who is a foreign citizen and works in a foreign company join a team that is led by a US citizen?
Yes. As long as that individual meets the eligibility requirements in terms of countries that we cannot work with.
All right. It looks like someone had a clarifying question that round 6 is focused on hardware and not software. Just to reiterate, we are accepting hardware and software technologies for round 6.
And I think
Yes.
reading that, it's can a winner of the software track apply for round 6 with hardware? And again, this falls into just submitting something completely different.
Thanks, Rebecca. I had missed the previous question right before
Yep.
that one. Let's see, if we win the Ready contest, but decide we don't want to proceed with that specific idea, are we allowed to proceed to the set contest? And does the prize money have to be returned whether or not they decide to move forward?
Your prize money is awarded based on the work already done. So once you're awarded the prize money, it's yours. I would say we really encourage and hope that you'll move through the contest. But if for some reason you decide not to, that's your choice and there's no obligation. I would also say you're being awarded in the first round for the idea that you put forward. We understand that, things don't always go according to plan, and maybe in your customer discovery phase or your technical validation, what you thought could happen isn't happening. And so you need to make a small pivot. I think telling us that story and having it be logical and kind of rooted in that work is acceptable. I think if you put in a ready submission and then your set submission is just something completely different, we probably would not be excited to see that.
Great. Looks like we have
Oh,
questions.
sorry,
Oh,
Jackie,
sorry.
I do see that we do have a couple of the power connectors on the line today, and they've been dropping some information in the chat on how you can reach them. So for people specifically looking for that power connector support, they'll post in the HeroX forum too, but if you want it now, check the chat.
Yeah, thanks, Amanda, and others who have been chiming in the chat with those resources. We have another question about the American Made Network. Is there a way to recruit partners to join the American Made Network so they can be a part of the network and get paid for their work?
Yes, on our main American Made Challenges website, there's a way to join the network. I would say we do have some requirements for what those connectors and network members are. We hope that they're organizations that can help multiple teams or have an interest broadly in supporting clean energy entrepreneurs, but I would say direct them to that network page and they can fill out an application and get vetted by our network team.
Thanks, Sarah. And I did drop the link to the American Made Network, our network tool in the chat. So if you just scroll up, you'll find a link to that directly. I think we just have time for probably one more question before we wrap up today's presentation. Final question, what TRL level are you looking for if a business has already received SBIR funding from other organizations?
We don't have a specific TRL level, and we do fund things kind of across the board. I would say in terms of having received SBIR funding from other federal entities, that is certainly not a deal breaker. I think if you check the rules, we do have some clarifying language in there about receiving previous federal funding for your idea and what can and can't work.
Thanks, Sarah. I just want to say one last time, we are going to post the recording of this webinar as well as a copy of the slides we shared today. We'll post those on the Solar Prize Round 6 HeroX page. So make sure you're following that page. You'll get an email notification when we've updated the page with those resources. So again, make sure you're following, and I think that link has been shared in the chat a few times. With that, Sarah and Rebecca, is there anything you want to close us out with?
Just thank you so much for joining us today. We hope that you are working on your idea. We are so excited to see your submissions come in October, and please reach out to us or the Power Connectors anytime throughout this process. We are here to support. We want you to be successful and don't want you feeling lost or confused. So we're here, the Power Connectors are here. We're happy to help and work with you to really be successful for that October date.
All right, I think that wraps up today's presentation. Thanks, everyone.